Good morning, afternoon, and evening to all you Gnomies out there. My name is Sir Dottie, Guildmaster of Rolling with My Gnomies on the US Bigglesworth Classic World of Warcraft server. Glad to have you here today. We're going to be doing actually my first ever YouTube video, so welcome. I hope that you guys enjoy it. I'm going to be recording this live, so expect some nice mess-ups. We want to go over the guild docket today, so the purpose of this video is to kind of get a video format of the guild docket. As of right now, we have people directed to the guild docket when they're interested in joining the guild, and it basically serves as a document that answers most frequently asked questions, or those FAQs. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. There's going to be a couple different sections. We're going to go over the goal of the guild. We're going to go over who the leadership team is and what their responsibilities are. We're going to touch on guild recruitment, the guild rules, how some of the guild ranks work, the raid schedule and invitations, how those end up working out, what the requirements are to get into those raids, some consumable lists, spec requirements, so on and so forth. And of course, the meat of this will probably be spent talking about loot distribution, which of course is generally what most people want to know about. How does the loot work? Where do those purple pixels go and how do they get there? So without further ado, let's hop right into the desktop view here. Hello again, here we are at my desktop. Welcome. So right away you can see the intro to the guild docket. Let's make this a little bit bigger so everyone can kind of read along with me. Let's go 200%. Is that too big? No, 200% looks good. So greetings, fellow Azerothians. If you didn't know, that's the planet there we're all stumbling on. Us night elf, gnomes, dwarfs, and humans. So my name, like I already said, is Sir Dottie. I am the GM of this beautiful guild that we have created here on the Bigglesworth US Classic World of Warcraft server. And if this is your first time reading the guild docket, or if you are coming back to review something, welcome. Glad to have you here. So again, we already sort of touched on what we're going to be going over today. So let's get right into it, the goal of the guild. So what is the goal of the guild? The goal of the guild is basically to provide a friendly, uplifting atmosphere where like-minded World of Warcraft players can all come together in a community that is built to take on Classic's most difficult raid bosses as a squad of Gnomies. You know, that's what the guild's called, Rolling with My Gnomies. And honestly, I believe the best way to accomplish this is to have that environment where everyone feels welcome and it's a positive environment where people want to take part in. Okay, so with that being said, let's move on to the leadership team. So the leadership team consists of several individuals who work very hard, and I do not pay them. They're all unpaid and donate their time. So here's me, Sir Dottie / Tanador. Tanador is my main character that I raid on. He is my warrior. And Sir Dottie is my dwarf hunter that you probably saw at the beginning of the video. So I am the guild master. I'm also one of the raid leaders. We do have other raid leaders that are up and coming. But if there is a progression raid, normally I'm the one that's leading those raids. And I'm also the loot master. We'll get into the loot distribution a little bit later. We run something called a loot council. It's actually a hybrid loot council, which we'll talk about a little bit of the differences between what a hybrid loot council is versus a full loot council, so on and so forth. So next up we have Top Shelf. He is one of the co-raid leaders. He's one of my officers. He is a feral druid, so he is the feral druid class leader, and he's also our guild dad. You know, he has several children, and we as Gnomies see him as sort of a father figure because he has such great insights into all sorts of dilemmas that we may encounter. And when we encounter those sorts of issues, we'll get into sort of how we do guild discipline. He always has a very level, grounded point of view that we definitely are thankful for. So next up is the Mans, or as I like to call him, Themans. you'll learn that I struggle to pronounce people's names, and it sort of is a guild meme. He definitely has done a lot of work for us. He runs the rogue class leader in conjunction with one other player named Stranger. And grateful for them. They run the rogues extremely well. He's also one of our officers. Next up is the customer, aka the commons, or the consumer. He's another one of our co-raid leaders. He's our warrior tank class leader. And we call him the Admiral, you know, because people admire him. So Jormunder. This guy is a super buff, sexy dwarf, and he is our priest class leader. I also refer to him as the general from time to time. He leads the priest extremely well, and serving with him is Emoteth, and he serves on the Omega priest class leadership role. Next up, we have Pip the Great and Bella Winkle. These are two founding members of the guild that I'm extremely thankful to have in the guild. These two assist me in keeping the mindset of the guild one where new players that come can feel welcome, and they bring that fresh perspective for me because these are first-time WoW players. They've never played an MMO like this before. They're amazing, wonderful people. Skeldy is next up. He's our mage class leader. He is extremely knowledgeable. He really enjoys making complex graphs that I have no idea how to read. Luckily, he does. But he does a great job. Fantastic job. Fantastic class leader. Next up is Bubbleberg. He's in charge of our Paladinos, or Paladins. Does an amazing job helping them out, knowing how to spec, what to bring to raids, how to push the needle a little bit forward so we can succeed in raiding. Speaking of raiding, Ray Team, Dread. This guy is awesome. I met him while we were leveling. Very fun story behind each and every one of these players. He saved me from an undead mage that was trying to kill me. But yeah, he does a fantastic job leading the warriors into success. If you ever have any sort of warrior questions, this is definitely the man to go to. And we touched on Stranger a little bit earlier. She is our rogue class leader, one of our top damage dealers in the guild. She takes, all right? She takes. J-Lo, phenomenal individual. Super grateful for this gentleman. Can't say enough positive things about him. Warlocks are extremely lucky to have him. And serving by his side is Nacho. He is the Warlock co-class leader. And finally, Bojum, our resident UK Doctor. He leads the Hunters very well. Proud to have him in the guild. So that is the leadership team. Moving on, we have guild recruitment. So how does guild recruitment work? From the very beginning, you know, we have kept things extremely organic. And what does that mean? Basically, I wasn't one to spam, you know, trade chat or spam looking for group chat every 2 minutes with annoying messages that are, you know, I personally get annoyed by those types of messages. I don't know about you guys, but that's not the way I wanted to go about recruiting. We recruited very organically, meaning like almost all of the original members of Rolling with My Gnomies were picked up along our dungeon runs. And when we were originally leveling all the way almost a year ago, back in August when the game came out, guys like Jormunder, you know, I met running Maradon. I like his note in my friends list says like, great healer, look to recruit after 2 more Maradon runs, you know. But he kept running with us, and that's kind of how we picked people up, you know, as we ran dungeons with them, and then we were farming pre-raid bis with them. And ultimately, when we first launched our Molten Core group, we were lucky to have a lot of players recognize our mindset and how we aren't super sweaty. We like to joke that we have, you know, memberships to Dollar Shave Club, you know, no neck beards. But that's what's so great about the guild. You know, we've been incredibly, like it says right here, we've been incredibly fortunate to avoid toxic players that would ruin this atmosphere that we've worked so hard to build together. And honestly, it's not about the quality for me. It's not about the quantity, excuse me. It's all about the quality. Said that backwards. But yeah, it is important to me to properly vet players, you know, when joining the guild. So just a brief overview. Basically, if you have a friend that wants to join the guild, fantastic. We'd love to have them. The only thing that we really require is that they head over to our guild Discord page and that they read through our guild rules, which we have coming up next. And once they kind of read through those, understand, they don't have any questions, we can get them vetted into the guild as a trial. And we'll talk about the guild ranks following the guild rules. Okay, so here are the guild rules. They're pretty basic and straightforward. So I've really been told that, you know, oh, this seems, people kind of are like, oh, you have rules. And I'm like, what are the rules? But the rules are pretty straightforward, and I do take the rules very seriously. It is something that was created so that we can protect the wonderful environment that we've, again, worked so hard to build. So rule number 1, be polite and respectful during interactions with other members. So this rule kind of goes past what is written on this page where, you know, it says, hey, interactions with other members. What does that mean? Like members of the guild? So I consider this rule to be interactions with everybody, okay? Anyone on the server that you're interacting with, I expect anyone with the title under your name. You know, we used to say that name under your name means more than your character's name, okay? The rolling with my Gnomies name is a household name on Bigglesworth, okay? People know us, and they know what to expect out of our players, and that is that we play the game honorably, and we play the game with respect towards everybody. So this transcends your own guild mates, your own guild members. It goes also to your fellow server mates or your Biggle bros, as it were, if you will. So again, we don't deal with any sort of sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia. It's not tolerated, okay? So if that's the sort of stuff that you're into, this probably isn't the guild for you. Okay, rule 2, topics that are forbidden. So we do not discuss these following topics. We don't post images that are not safe for work. And again, we don't talk about politics. We don't talk about religion. And finally, loot drama is not tolerated, okay? What is not fun for the leadership team, again, who I don't pay, they donate all their time, and it is, you know, at this point, hours and hours and hours of time that they have set aside to set up so many wonderful things, like discussing loot and how we're going to handle it, how we're going to handle classes, what the expectation is, and just generally managing their own classes and reporting back to me. But what's not fun for us is if someone gets upset over the purple pixels. You know, having general concerns is, of course, you can always approach us, and that's talked about later in the rules. But there's a big difference between loot drama and having a question about something, right? So an example of causing loot drama would be, you know, something drops. Let's say, you know, Locomere drops out of Blackwing Lair off Nefarian, and a trial Gnomie is asked to pass on Locomere for a Alpha Raider or Omega Raider, right? And that person starts acting up and, you know, just typing in guild chat like, oh my god, I can't believe they're gonna win this, why wasn't I allowed to roll? You know, like that would be loot drama, right? And that's something that we want to avoid. Of course, if on the flip side of that, approaching somebody, one of the members of the leadership team privately and saying, hey man, like I just want to clarify why was I not allowed to roll on that item, which in the guild docket we'll get to that, but big difference between that, right? Drama versus being an adult, using your words, you know, not leaving ZG over a blue item, things like that. Okay, let's move on. Rule number 3, please be respectful towards everyone's ears. So what does that mean? Basically, everyone knows I'm the only one that's allowed to break this rule. So basically what this means is, you know, be aware that if you have some crazy background noise going on, if you have children, if you got a dog, if your air conditioner's blasting, your fans like blasting into your microphone, and we're just getting a bunch of, you know, garbage in our ears during a raid, don't be offended if you get server muted, okay? So we just want to put that out there. You know, if your mic is a hot mic and you're having a conversation with your girlfriend and you don't realize that you're queued into the mic, you may get server muted. Again, just reach out to one of the members of the leadership team and we can take you off a server mute once you kind of look at your Discord and be like, oh, hey, there's a red crossed microphone over my name. I must have been making some background noise. So pretty basic rule. And obviously, you know, in our Discord, we have channels that are all organized based off of, you know, what they're supposed to be used for. So obviously try to keep whatever you're talking about relevant to the channel that you're talking about. And if your stuff gets deleted out of that channel, don't get offended, right? You know, it's probably because you were talking about something in the wrong channel. A good example of that would be like, let's say you are, you know, posting a cute picture of your dog or something like that. That can go in the general chat, right? Doesn't need to be in your class hall. Doesn't need to be in the raid channel. Doesn't need to be, well, if you want it to be in the scrapbook, that's okay. I encourage cute animals. I myself have a cute new golden retriever, and I've been a posting, so I'm very guilty. Rule number 4: be respectful to the GM, myself, my officers, the raiders, and your fellow members. This is kind of just reiterating rule number 1, but basically there's one kind of caveat that we've added into this rule. So obviously the leadership team and everybody that's a part of the guild, we put a lot of time and effort into contributing to this community, right? And we ask that you keep this in mind. You know, if you're going to complain, that's okay. Just do it the right way. You know, again, don't be in the guild chat, on Discord. Reach out to us. You know, we're all adults. We're capable of having adult conversations, even if it's a difficult conversation that maybe you're not looking forward to having. We'll be receptive to that, you know, and we'll respect you, and we'll give you the time of the day, and I will always give you the benefit of the doubt. Okay, so reach out to us in private, and of course, understand that you know, everyone has their own schedule. All right, so we do have a lot of a wide range of players. Okay, everyone from first-time WoW players to absolute veterans of the game. So please understand that, you know, if you're a first-timer and you're you know, I hesitate to use the word begging, right? Because I don't think that anyone should be begging in guild chat for anything. But let's say you're spamming a little bit too often in guild chat, like, okay, someone come help me, come carry me in SM, right? So that's a good example of stuff that I don't really like to see is someone that is asking for carries. You know, there's a different way to ask for that. You know, instead of saying come carry me, you know, someone come carry me through SM and boost me, just say, hey, would anyone like to come to Scarlet Monastery with me? You know, there's a way to say things. And if your request is declined, you know, don't be offended. It says it right here. You know, if a guild member declines your invitation for assistance, everyone's an adult with their own schedules, you know, and no one's expected to change them for anybody else. So just keep that in mind. Rule number 5, you know, we already talked about this: bring complaints to officers. And of course, this is the most famous rule that gives me the ultimate tyrant power. Obviously, as the guild master, I set this guild together. We started it way back in August, and I have worked very, very hard. I've dedicated a lot of my own personal time to making this guild as wonderful as I can make it for everyone to enjoy, with the help of a lot of others. So I do have I reserve the right to have the final say in all matters, you know, and this extends basically to anything. But again, each and every concern has its own circumstances, and we will kind of take them on a case-by-case basis using something called the 3-strike rule. Okay, so let's get into the 3-strike rule. So what is the 3-strike rule? It is exactly what it sounds like. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out, right? So this is how we kind of filter out the players that we don't see as players that are going to make it as Gnomies. Okay, and you know, what are some examples? We'll get into that, but basically, when strike 1 is issued, we are going to pull you aside privately. Of course, we're not going to blast you in front of everybody and be like, that's a strike, you know, so and so, like, how dare you? That's not what we're going to do. We're going to pull you aside, and we're going to tell you, hey, listen, this is what we have an issue with. It's going to be very, you know, right, like it says right here, a very clear expectation is going to be set with the player of what went wrong, and you know, if that behavior continues, that there will be a demotion back to the trial rank if that player has already made it out of the trial rank. And then strike 2, you know, if the person continues to break the rules, and you know, again, an officer is going to reach back out and request an audience with them. And if for some reason the expectation wasn't clear the first time that we met with them, we're going to, you know, explain again and identify any issues that are still remaining. And we're going to try to avoid any misunderstandings, you know, of what it means to be a Gnomie. We do have very high expectations for players that are hanging out and being a part of this community that we love so much. Strike 3, if by this time the player, hasn't rectified the issues, it's just time for that player to part ways with the guild. Clearly they're just not the type of player that fits the core values of what it means to be a Gnomie. So 3 strikes, you're out. Very rarely have we had to use this system, okay? So very rarely have we had to use the system. And there have only been, I think, 3 players that we have had to remove from the guild because they simply weren't understanding what we were trying to get across. And that's okay. We are never, ever going to have any sort of malice towards those players. That's just not us, okay? That's not how we roll. We always tell them, hey, things didn't work out. We wish you all the best of luck in your journeys throughout Azeroth. It's just, not going to work out with us. So good luck to you. Goodbye. All right, let's get into the guild ranks. So guild ranks, when you first join the guild, you're going to be a trial Gnomie. And basically, this is to where you start, where everybody starts. And once you get invited to the guild, you start out as a trial Gnomie. Once you kind of review the guild rules, you accept the guild rules, you've read through the guild docket, which now I'm making a video version of it, so it's even easier for everybody to kind of get into. You can get promoted out of the trial rank. This is basically the social trial rank, okay? Moving on, we have the alt Gnomie, which is essentially for people's alternate characters that have achieved the rank of Gnomie. Now, Gnomie is basically the step up from trial Gnomie. So once we've kind of figured out that you're not a weirdo, you're not kind of like some internet creepy person that's gonna, be weird. And I can give some examples of that. Basically, we have, again, a wide variety of players. We have a large population of female players in our guild, and I think largely that is because we do take the guild rules so seriously. So again, if there's some kind of creepy guy that's maybe not advancing on some of the female players in ways that they don't want to or they're not receptive of, then that's why the social trial rank exists, so we can move forward with maybe filtering some of those players out. But yeah, so once you kind of get to the Gnomie rank, this is for players that obviously have shown that they understand what it means to be a Gnomie. They're receptive to the rules. They're willing to, be polite, respectful, honorable players. Again, not with only their fellow guild members, but with everyone that they're playing the game with, including their server mates. Okay, so once you've kind of hit maximum level and you are looking to get into raiding, we are predominantly a raiding guild. We actually run 2 raid teams, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But if you're interested in raiding, you can be promoted from the social rank Gnomie to the next rank, trial raider. So essentially what the trial raider rank is sort of like this rank, but it's not to try you out socially. We're trialing you as a raider. So we'll get into some of the raid requirements and what we're looking to see to ascend from the trial raider to the Omega Gnomie. So our first raid team is called the Omega team, and the second raid team is the Alpha team. And these are 2 separate raid groups with actually a lot of players that go back and forth, and some that are even on 2 teams, both teams at the same time. We'll talk about that. But these are the ranks to let everybody know in the guild that you have put in hard work as a trial raider and you have achieved the rank of an Omega Gnomie and you belong to the Omega team, or you have achieved the rank of Alpha Gnomie and you belong to the Alpha team. Past that, you just have your leadership roles. So we have our class leaders, which we went over in earlier part of the leadership team. Then we have our alt Gnomicers and our Gnomicers. Gnomicers is basically just what I call my officers. I think it's a cool pun. So these guys work so hard, so much effort that they put in the day-to-day. So thankful to have them. They're all wonderful individuals. Can't say enough good things about them. And then there's me, the guild master. Okay, so raid schedule and invitations. So This is our current schedule, and this schedule is actually in the midst of changing. So as of right now, we're recording this video on July 30th. It's almost August, almost time for the 1-year anniversary of the guild. Woo! Should throw some kind of party or something. We probably will. But this is the current raid schedule. So a little bit of it's going to get switched around because Encourage is releasing the patches live right now. We're trying to open the gates. And I'm super excited to get into those raids. So let's talk about the raid schedule. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we raid at 6 p.m. Okay, so Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we raid at 6 p.m. Now, ZG has kind of gone by, it's gone to something called Pick Up Guild Raid, and we'll talk about that. So ZG has actually been replaced with Gnomie Film Night. And Gnomie Film Night is something that we're doing. We're hosting 2 Gnomie film nights every week, and this is basically to go over the bosses for the new raid Encourage 40. And those, of course, are all available in VOD format, and I'm looking to also post those here on YouTube soon. So they can be viewed both on my Twitch channel and also on the YouTube channel. So as of right now, these are Gnomie film nights, and the Gnomie film night will become Encourage 20. So what was once ZG is now the Gnomie film night and will become AQ20. Basically, the Monday and Friday slots are for our 20-man raids. And those happen at 6 p.m. server time, which is Pacific Standard Time. This is what we're a West Coast-based server. Okay, Wednesday night. So Wednesday night is what we use for Blackwing Lair, and we do that at 6 p.m., and that's normally led by one of our raid leaders, Stranger. And we've since moved Molten Core to Pick Up Guild Raid status as well. But like I said earlier, Friday is essentially the other 20-man day, same time, 6 p.m., it is currently the Gnomie film night and will become AQ20 very soon. Finally, Saturday and Sunday. Now, these are our main raid days. We predominantly raid on the weekends, and we raid in the morning time because a lot of us are working professionals like myself and so many others. You know, some people have kids. Almost all of us have jobs, and because of that, we like to raid in the mornings so that we can have the rest of the evening time to spend with friends, family, and do pickup guild raids, which is a lot of fun. So Saturday and Sunday we raid at 10 a.m. and we normally our clear times are very competitive for the current raids. So again, all of this is kind of shifting. As of right now, we are using Saturday for our Molten Core, and we're using Sunday for our Omega team. But that is going to change once AQ40 comes out. As you can see here, Alpha BWL will become AQ40 Prog, and we will use both of these 2 slime slots. This isn't Nick at Night. Come on, guys. AQ40 progression is what we're going to use those time slots for. So I know that's a lot of information, but if you ever have any questions, concerns about the schedule, don't worry, because we'll go over, when we go over the guild Discord, I will show you how we keep everything organized and how we do raid signups, so you can always know what raids are happening when, who's coming, where, you know, what to expect, all of that. Okay, how do raid invites work? So basically how raid invites work is we will always do what's best for the guild. Okay, always the guild's going to come first. We never put the needs of any one individual above what's best for the guild. So with that being said, raid composition and what's best for the guild is going to kind of trump anything. Okay, now by design there can only be 40 alpha raiders and 40 omega raiders at any given time by rank. Okay, so what this essentially means is there cannot be more than 40 alpha raiders or more than 40 omega raiders at any one time. And this is to solve a few issues that probably some other guilds have, where people are confused and they get frustrated because they don't know, hey, am I in for today? Am I out for today? All the alpha raiders know for a fact that they are going to get a priority invite to any alpha raid. All the omega raiders know that they are going to get a priority invite to any omega raid. And we will talk about what a power player is a little bit later, but there are players that raid in both raids. So keep that in mind. So essentially how the system works is trial raiders are pretty much equal to alt Gnomies, and Gnomies are less than, to trial Gnomies. So you got your social ranks that would be at the bottom of the invite list. You have your trial raiders and your alt Gnomies that are a little bit higher than them. And then, of course, if we're running any sort of pickup guild raid, any member of the guild is going to be a higher priority than a pickup player. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense. I know that's written kind of mathematically, but essentially, if you just come up here, this is how the priority works. So if you're a trial Gnomie, which is a social trial, you would expect not to get the spot over somebody's alt Gnomie or somebody that is a social rank. Just like the social rank wouldn't expect to get the spot over a trial raider, just like the trial raider wouldn't expect to get the spot over an omega Gnomie, alpha Gnomie, so on and so forth. Okay, so that's kind of how that works. Hopefully I didn't mess that up too much. Okay, so what is a pugger raid? Okay, I made this word up, pugger. It stands for pick up guild raid. And essentially what this is, it's raids that we pretty much just don't need stuff out of anymore. All of our raiders have graduated from that raid for the most part, but we still like to run them because, there are new members always coming into the raid and we like to gear them up. And we just love the game. We love raiding, and there is a few legendaries that we can still pick up from these raids, such as Molten Core, even though we've just accomplished our 4th Thunder Fury, which is awesome. But these are raids like ZG, Onyxia, and now Molten Core. These raids are not scheduled, but they can be run with a mix of guildmates and pickup players. And anybody leading one of these runs is, of course, expected to run this run in accordance with the guild rules, okay? Because, again, I take our reputation on the server very, very seriously, and people know what to expect when they're in a group with a Gnomie. Believe me, you'll pick up on that. You'll pick up on that. So yeah, let's talk about the raid requirements. So number 1, the Gnomie mindset. And again, these requirements is what we're looking for to have someone advance from a trial raider to be assigned to the Omega team. Okay, so the Gnomie mindset. This is something that was born in very, very early on, when we had one of our gilded warriors named Caspa. It's one of our officers. He actually passed a binding, a Thunder Fury binding, to someone that wasn't in our guild as an invitation to our guild, and that player was the customer, one of our officers. So on that day, history was made, and the Gnomie mindset was born, where players make decisions based on what is best for the guild, not for what is best as an individual. It basically means playing the game in a fashion that upholds the honor and integrity of what it means to be a Gnomie, regardless of who you're interacting with. That is the essence of the Gnomie mindset. Now, of course, individual effort plays a big role. Are you the correct spec? Do you know your rotation? If you don't know your rotation, are you reaching out to your class leader and asking questions? You're not just showing up week to week and making no improvements. How are you going and hunting for pre-raid best in slot items in dungeons? Are you putting in effort to get your raid consumables? Do you have the proper macros and add-ons installed and prepped? Your performance. We weigh guild participation heavily. Do you participate just in raids, or do you also help people out outside of the raid? And are you consistently attending the raids? And what is your attitude like? And what does your contribution look like? So these are all things that we take into account. And finally, we look at Warcraft logs. If you don't know what Warcraft logs is, it's basically like a big sweat, what would you call it? Not an application, but it's a website that we use that tracks tons and tons of information on every single ability that a player is using, how often they're using it. For example, one player, we had this one mage that was doing really, really poorly, and he was not getting very good scores on Warcraft logs. And when we looked into it, we could see, okay, this guy's casting 11 frostbolts on a boss versus our other mages that are casting like 29. So something is clearly wrong here. Like, we need to have a discussion with this player about their performance. So again, we're not a super sweaty min-max guild, but we really do expect players to progress, and any member of the leadership, hands down, is willing to assist you on making that progression. Okay, I guarantee it. If you reach out to your class leader, they're gonna be happy that you did, and they will help you out. Okay, so required raid add-ons. These are listed on the guild docket, and they're also available in the Discord, which we'll go over at the end. But we do require some add-ons. That way that we can have the best chance of success. So details threat meter. This is the threat meter that we use. Essentially, everyone needs to have it installed so that we can properly manage our threat. It's very, very serious, especially as you get into more and more difficult content where bosses cannot be taunted. So that's important to know. Deadly boss mods. Okay, this is the boss add-ons that we use to let us know when certain bosses are going to do what type of abilities, and it's absolutely mandatory. RC Loot Council Classic. This is another mandatory add-on. It is how we distribute loot, so you're going to want that if you want loot. Classic Loot Assistant. This is another add-on that we use to track if players can loot skinnable creatures. Like a good example would be the core hounds in Molten Core. Also, we can do raid-wide checks if people have items in their inventory, like consumables, which is important. Your Onyxia Scale Cloak, which is also important. GTFO, this is one we require because it will make a big annoying ping when you're standing in some sort of fire or AoE ability that you're not supposed to be standing in. Decursive. So this is one that we use to help out with getting rid of poison effects, magic effects, diseases, all that sort of stuff. Voodoo is one that we use for our healers. And Character Stats Classic, this is to help you out in managing your stats, to know how much hit you have, how much crit you have, all that jazz, okay? Raid ABC. So you'll hear a lot of the times before a raid, the raid leader will say, hey, make sure your raid ABCs are done. We're leaving in 10 minutes, get your raid ABCs done. This basically means go get repaired, go get your ammo, create any water, get your food, get your soul shards, potions, bandage, elixirs, aqua quintessences, Onyxia Scale Cloaks, Onyxia necklaces, unbank your fire resist gear, all that stuff. Okay, that's a long list, I know. Consumables. We won't go over this because this is more of an individual, this kind of ties into the effort list, but we do look for consumables. Okay, so are you bringing the necessary consumables to raid? This will be a big check to mark off before you're going to get promoted from a trial raider to a raid team. Okay, and you can see right here, we have everyone is expected to bring these consumables. Melee is expected to bring these consumables. We have caster consumables, all of that stuff. We'll kind of skip over some of the individual class notes. Our class leaders have made guides on what we expect for people to get to the point where they're a trial raider. A good example would be hey, if you're a DPS warrior, do you have 6% hit, right? So if you haven't hit 6% hit, that's probably because you haven't gone out and gotten your pre-raid bis yet. Okay, so we'll kind of skip that and we'll get into the nitty-gritty of loot distribution. Hope you guys are ready. Okay, so loot distribution, let's talk about it. It's not your fault, okay? Rolling with my Gnomies, we use a hybrid loot council system, okay? And we distribute that loot through the hybrid system using RC Loot Council. Now, what does that mean? Basically, a hybrid loot council is a form of a loot council. In a traditional loot council, like if a guild uses a loot council, that means that the loot council has pre-selected players that they are assigning that item to, and there's no discussion, there's no role, there's not multiple players. It just goes right into that person's bags, and that's it. We do not do that. Okay, I don't like that. Very, very rarely do we take an item and just say and give it to one person, no questions asked. Most of those items are, you know, tanking items, legendary items. That's when you'll see people maybe get assigned a piece of loot with no competition. But we use a hybrid of that, and what that means is we select multiple people and we have them roll. Okay, and we'll go over what this looks like. We'll go through some different scenarios, but essentially it is a more casual version of a loot council where we pick several players. Sometimes it's every player that wants the item, and as long as they check all of those boxes that we kind of just went through, they're prepping their consumes, they're showing up on time, they're ready to go, they're positive mindset, all of that, then I don't see a reason why they shouldn't be allowed to roll on these items. So that is how we distribute loot, is using a hybrid loot council, not a traditional loot council. We don't do any sort of shenanigans with DKP or any of that. So we also do one other system, which is listed here. It's called the dual token loot system. And I'll quickly go through that. Basically, how the dual token loot system works is a little bit different. So when we have pickup players in the raid, we can't loot council, right? Because obviously I would be like, well, I'm just going to give it to my guild member, So we do something that's very, very fair. And we've used this dual token loot system since the very beginning to build up, again, our positive reputation on Bigglesworth. And people pretty much trust us to stick to this system and do loot very fairly and with honor. So essentially what the system is everyone gets one need token and one greed token. When an item drops, I'll raid link the item. Let's just say, CTS drops. I'm going to raid link the item, and anybody that wants that item can then roll so long as they still have their need token. Okay, well, let's say you spent your need token. Then you wouldn't be able to roll on that item because you've already spent that need token. But let's say everyone spent their need token or nobody needs it. It would then be relinked in the raid, and we would do greed tokens. And then if nobody takes it on a greed token, it'll go to an open roll, and if no one wants it on an open roll, it gets disenchanted. Now, that loot system is super easy to get used to. It's very straightforward. I like it because it has a lot of personal choices that people can make. The agency is with the player. It's a lot different from how we do loot in our main raids. And essentially the reason why we do that is because if we have pickup players in the raid, then we have to be fair to them, and a loot council simply wouldn't work with pickup players in the raid. Okay, so moving on, we'll go, we'll kind of talk about this. This is sort of the essence of what I think when it comes to loot. So again, my goal and the goal of the leadership team, or whoever it is that's running that raid and is distributing loot, their goal is to be as fair and consistent as possible when distributing loot. We always will take into account a lot of stuff that goes into making these types of decisions. So we're just asking you guys to have a little bit of faith in us to make those decisions. And here's some examples of what we think about when it comes to distributing loot. So again, does the player understand the raid requirements of this section? We went over that. Does the player understand the consumable section of this document? Do they bring the appropriate consumables to raid for their class? Do they bring the right number of consumables for their class? Is this player someone that shows up on time, ready to go? Are they helping out outside of the raid? How did this player handle their trial phase? Did they cause any drama when they were left out of roles? We test players and say, hey, you're going to get left out of this role. We're going to go with this person, this person, this person. Go ahead and roll. Did they cause any big drama? And again, there is a difference between asking a question that is based in good faith versus trying to cause drama. Big difference. Okay. Was there any red flags in their trial phase? Essentially, if they are a trial and they're under geared and they're showing up to raid, outside of raid, are they consistently hunting for their pre-raid bis? Okay, this is a big one, because one thing that the loot council doesn't like to see is some fresh 60 that's showing up to just the raid and then they're raid logging, and I don't see them try at all during the whole week, and they show back up next week expecting an invitation to the raid, but they haven't gone and put in any effort to hunt down pre-raid bis in dungeons. Okay, it's not that hard. It really isn't. Okay. Let's talk about some more additional things about how we distribute loot. So some items are locked to or exclude specific classes as determined by the loot council. So what does this mean? A good example is priest. We don't really let our priest roll on one-handed healing weapons that are found in Molten Core and in Blackwing Lair, because they have such a high chance to get an eye in Molten Core every week, and that staff benediction is so much stronger than a lot of the one-hander combos. If not, I get the Locomir and the AV offhand might be a little bit better, but we want to reward the paladins, we want to reward the druids that don't have that staff that they can get as a secured option. So that's a good example. Another example is hunters. For the majority of one-handed weapons, we don't allow hunters to roll over those on rogues and warriors, basically for the same reason. They can go and get a leaf and use that two-hander, and we prile them other stuff. So why would we give a hunter CTS or Core Hound Tooth or Brutality Blade? We're going to give those to our rogues and our warriors, because the hunter is going to get Ash Candy in BWL. Okay. Okay. Another good example would be tanking gear, PvP gear, resistance gear. Some of this stuff is pretty self-explanatory. Most tier gear and two-handed weapons are going to be open rolls. Okay. A lot of the most powerful rare items are going to be loot counseled, right? We're going to say, okay, we think that these 4 players deserve it, go ahead and roll. But a lot of the tier gear and two-handed weapons are not. They're just like, you know what, everybody, if you want this for PvP, go ahead, because we don't run arms warriors in the guild. We don't allow that. It's Fury warriors. So two-handed weapons, for the most part, are considered PvP weapons. Again, there are exceptions, like hunters. We give them prio on Ash Candy. So there's always a little bit of give and take there. Okay, another good rule is we don't really like when players double dip. So let's say that a player is in Molten Core and they roll on their tier 1 pants and they win the tier 1 pants. They're not going to be allowed to then on Ragnaros roll on the tier 2 pants, because that would be double dipping, right? You just won the tier 1 pants. Why are you also going to win the tier 2 pants? Let's let somebody else win those that hasn't had a chance to win something yet. Okay, moving right along. I kind of touched on this, like I said earlier, two-handed weapons and tier gear for the most part are open rolls, but most one-handed weapons, trinkets, necks, rings, these will predominantly be focused on being distributed by the loot council as they see fit. Okay. Now, that being said, the loot council does reserve the right to exclude any player from a roll, for whatever reason that they see fit. And superseding that, as the guild master, I have the ultimate final say on everything, including loot distribution. So if I feel like there's a mistake being made by the loot council, I will always chime in and maybe veto a decision. Wow, we're doing a lot of talking. Let's try to wrap this one up. Okay, so moving on, give you a little glimpse into more getting into the head of the loot council. So let's say a player has won a few pieces in a raid already, and someone else that's in the same class or role has yet to win anything yet. The loot council may have the player that's won a bunch of items pass. Pretty self-explanatory. Let's say this is a big one. Okay, let's say someone is playing their alt character, and an item drops that someone's main character needs. The alt character may be asked to pass in order to prioritize somebody's main character. Okay. Now, again, kind of coming back to this, loot council reserves the right to exclude players for roles for whatever they deem appropriate. That can be in reverse sometimes. What if someone's alt character, you know, they don't show up to raid that often. They're not bringing consumables. They don't put in effort for pre-raid bis. You know, whatever the situation is, and then the main character that is a trial has been doing all those things. That trial may be given the go-ahead. You know, most guilds trials are basically, yo, you're expected to never roll on anything until you're out of that trial. That's not the case with us, okay? We reward positive behaviors. So this is why I'm making this video, so that people can learn a little bit about what we're looking for. And in essence, these raid requirements are what we're looking for. But again, alt Gnomies should never expect to win something over a main character, and a trial raider should never expect to win something over a raider. And again, that's not always the case. It may go your way, but if you show up with those expectations, you're going to avoid the frustration, okay? All right, so there are a few players in the guild that have obtained the rank of power player, okay? Now, those players are listed right here. They're very few in number. I myself have not listed myself on this list because I would never ever take an item on my alt character over any main character that needed an item. I have shown that time and time again. There's plenty of VODs to serve as evidence of that, but I try to lead by example, okay? My personal opinion is I would not take something on my alt character, which is my second character, before somebody has had a chance to win something on their first character, okay? I personally am not with that, but there are times where that does happen. Now, these players have achieved the rank of power player, and basically what this means is they have two main characters, one that raids in the alpha team and one that raids in the omega team, full time, mind you. Now, these people are insane in the membrane. They put in an insane, crazy amount of work. They come super duper prepared. More than that, they organize things outside of raid. These players are usually the ones that are going above and beyond and are starting our Dire Maul buff groups hours ahead of time before the raid. These players are just amazing, and they 100% deserve to have the ability to have these two main characters, okay? Now, that being said, you know, that's basically what it says. They've shown to be incredible levels of dedication, raiding full times on two separate characters with virtually perfect attendance. They're super selfless. I've also never seen some of these players take stuff on their second main over somebody's first character, even if they're a trial. That's how crazy the level of Gnomie mindset is, and that's why they are power players, okay? Now, if you'd like to become a power player, of course, you can reach out to me and we'll talk about it. All right. Last few things to talk about here. Another example. Let's say one player has joined the guild and they're a trial. Now, let's say another player has been a consistent Gnomie raider. They follow the outline of this document to a T. Again, the Loot Council probably going to give it to the go-ahead, the green light to roll on an item to that Gnomie raider who's been consistent, not the trial raider, okay? This is basically why the trial rank exists. You know, as a potential Gnomie raider, this rank is designed to allow the guild to assess our new recruits, see how you act, what your habits are, what your attitude's like, and basically ensure that you're in line with the guild docket prior to us giving you the green light to rolling on gear that someone that has already shown us that they are in the Gnomie mindset for getting those items. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, two more things to go over and we'll wrap this up. Basically, guild bank distribution, very easy, very simple. Anybody that is looking for guild bank mats, I have like 5 different guild banks on my account. Okay, we have Gnomie Bank, Gnomie Skins, Gnomie Ore, Gnomie Cloth, Gnomie, what else do we have? Is that all of them? I'm probably missing one right now. I'm not looking at them, so. But I basically hoard stuff on my account for you guys, okay? And the guild bank operates at a complete loss. Now, what does that mean? Basically, anything that the guild bank has, they will sell to any guild member for a quarter discount, 25% off of TSM4 regional market values. And basically what that means, this is Trade Skill Master. It's an add-on that calculates, it scans the auction house and it calculates a mean value for every item. I use TSM4 regional market values, and I take 25% off of that price, and that is the price that we sell items to guildies. Now, how do you do it? You basically just send a request to Gnomie Bank. You're saying you need to let me know, hey, what's the name of the item you want? How many do you want? And I would like you to also do what the current price is on the auction house, so I can compare it to the TSM4 market value. Now, let's say I don't have those items. There are some items that I do not have, or a different player in our guild has. A good example is Hunaris, who has most of our leatherworking stuff. I will let you know. I'll say, hey, we don't have those right now. Sorry about that, but I will get back to you. Okay, finally, guild Discord. Let's talk about it. So the guild Discord, here it is. This is the Discord. Let's go over it. Here we are, rolling with my Gnomies. Right here, we got some Gnomies hanging out right here. Love to see it. Love to see it. So quick tour. At the very top, you have start here, the guild rules. This is where all of the rules that we went over, they're also found here. They're the exact same. To join the guild, people are required to put a thumbs up here. Some people put a bunch of other emotes, but this is required. The guild docket, this is what I'm currently reading right now. This is how you get promoted out of the social trial rank and setting up your role. You can click this button to basically make yourself the rank of a guild ally. So let's quickly touch on the guild rank. So you have me up here at the top, the guild master. You have the Gnomisers, you have your class leaders, you have the Gnomie paladins, the Gnomie priests, the Gnomie mages, Gnomie warlocks, Gnomie druids, Gnomie warriors, Gnomie rogues, Gnomie hunters, and all of our guild allies. Okay, so that is the guild rules section. Those are the guild ranks. Now, required add-ons, like I said, that's found right here. We have Shortblade, who is our Gnomie add-on master. There's links and details on how to install each one of these add-ons. If anyone ever has any problems, you can feel free to hit up Shortblade, and he will help you as the Gnomie add-on master. Announcements. This is where I put announcements, and that's pretty straightforward. You know, if stuff is changing, schedule things, cool pictures of the upcoming raid, all sorts of stuff like that. You know, hey, big hype, AQ's coming out, so that announcing that. General chat, this is where it's kind of like a guild chat outside of the game. This is used just for, you know, there's a cute little pug. People talking about aliens, you know, it's people talking about their favorite alcohol. This is where all that goes down. General raid, this is where the discussion is mostly about the raid. You see lots of numbers and stuff in here, boss guides. This is also where I link my streams for people to come hang out on any given day. The Gnomie scrapbook, which is one of my absolute favorite sections of the Discord, where it is all of our memories going all the way back. Like if you scrolled all the way up, it goes literally all the way back. There are hundreds of pictures in here. If you go all the way up, here's the very first picture of me taming my very first pet, all the way back in August, almost 1 year ago. Awesome memories. You know, here's us rolling around day one, killing some poor troll. I love this section of the Discord. You know, here's our very first killing of Van Cleef. Here's our first Scarlet Monastery with, ooh, who's that? Caspa. Anyways, moving on. Groovy Spam, we like to listen to music together, so we have this section where we can post music and we listen to music while we raid. It is a good note that you can right click on Groovy and you can turn him down. Like you see this little volume slider, you can right click anybody and turn them down. Groovy is very, very loud. He likes to potty, so you might want to turn him down. I keep him at about 30%. Okay. Raid signups. This is important section of the Discord. Okay, so listen up. Weekday raid signups. This is where we have our pickup guild raids that are posted in here. We have our Gnomie movie nights, which are Tuesday, Thursdays right now, which again, you see me linking the VODs for people that weren't able to attend. Wednesday, Blackwing Lair, which this is what the raid signup looks like. Saturday, Molten Core, and Sunday, Blackwing. Now, let's talk about the sign up. So this is a great tool for everybody, because we post signups for all of our raids. It lets us know exactly who wants to come, and I'll show you what it looks like. So you see these little buttons right here. I want to come on my warrior, so I'm going to slap my warrior name right there, and boom, there I am. I'm signed up right there. You just click your class icon. If you're not planning on coming, you can hit absent. If you're going to bench yourself, you can put yourself on the bench. Maybe you'll be late. Maybe you're tentative, you're not sure. Your girlfriend says she wants to go, to the park, and you're like, oh, I might have to go with my girlfriend to the park. Slap yourself on there. You might have to, hang out with your pet fish, whatever it is. Okay, that's the raid sign up. They're always posted. Weekday raids, again, we raid Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 p.m. and weekends, 10 a.m. Officers channel, that's where we have all of our communication that is limited to the officers. Gnome leaders, this is where the officers and class leaders come together. This is the officer channel. This is my office. The chillin' channel, the man's secret hideout. This is where we do dungeons, dungeon 1, dungeon 2, raid channel 1, raid channel 2, and the pickup group raid, as well as some PvP channels, and then finally your class order halls. So your Discord won't look exactly like mine. Obviously, you won't be able to see some of these channels, and you'll only see your class channel. I've worked very hard on the Discord to make it very functional. Of course, you can always tag. You can tag any of these. So if you want to tag hunters, you can tag them separately from tagging a class leader or tagging an officer. Whatever you want to do, it's all functional. So this is the hunter hall, obviously, rogue class hall, warrior class hall. Every single class has their class hall. Love to see all the conversations going on in here. Great stuff. And then also, we play other games together. We don't just play World of Warcraft together. Some people play Animal Crossing together. We play Project Winter together, which is hilarious. And we're playing Valorant, together, which is a new game by Riot Games, which is a lot of fun. It's a shooter game. So we're not just limited to World of Warcraft. So, all right, guys, I think that is going to do it. We're just at over an hour long of information here. Hopefully you're not overloaded, but just wanted to take the time to thank you guys so much for listening to the Guild Docket video version of it. Let's go back to the big screen here. All right, so here we are back at the big screen. So again, thank you for participating in the first ever YouTube video that I'm going to be posting. Again, my name is Sardati. I do stream on Twitch. You can find my channel at Twitch TV. Sardati is just spelled exactly like it is at the top there. I do stream all of our raids Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 p.m. and weekends at 10 a.m. So you can come check me out. If you ever have any questions, concerns, feel free to hit me up on Discord. I have an open door policy. You can send me a message at any time. We have Gnomies all over the globe, believe it or not, from Switzerland to Brazil to the UK, Australia, and back. I cannot say enough about how amazing this guild is, and I know that if you have stumbled across this video and you're not you haven't found a guild that is a community-based guild that has built itself off of playing together and enjoying the game, I'm telling you, there's no place like Gnome. And with that, I'm going to end this video. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, I'm Sardati. See ya.